Hello, I'm Janet Morana, Executive Director of Priests for Life. Welcome to Just Ask Janet. Well, today is going to be a special treat for me because I have one of the son of, I think, one of the greatest pro-life leaders that ever existed, someone who taught me and Father Pavone so much about how to bring an end to abortion. And now, of course, his son is carrying on the legacy of the Pro-Life Action League. So joining me today is Eric Scheidler, the Executive Director. Welcome.
Great to be with you.
It's great to have you. And of course, like I told you, Eric, I'm sorry. You must live in your dad's shadow, but and of course you grew up in the pro-life movement.
That's right.
Your dad took you to abortion clinics and all over the place out there showing the pictures and all that. But I just want to spend a quick moment just so everyone understands how important your dad was to me and Father Pavone in getting so involved in the pro-life movement, because when Father Pavone became my parish priest in St. Charles, he was ordained in 1988, came to St. Charles Parish. He was already passionate about the abortion issue, but then he wanted to know everything. And we found this book that your dad wrote, 99 Ways to Stop Abortion. So we actually ordered copies of this book. We had a whole little pro-life reading club in the parish. We drank up every word of it. And then Father Frank decided one day to call your dad. And he called the Pro-Life Action League. And your father picked up the phone. I thought we were going to all faint. And then your dad went, Scheidler here. And the rest was history. Then Father became National Director of Priests for Life. And your dad took him under his wing. He invited him up to Chicago. He gathered all the pro-life leaders there. And all I can say, Eric, is he was just, and I know we're not the only pro-life leaders who tell you these things, right? That your dad just knew so much and it was so generous of a heart that he just helped everybody, right?
Well, Janet, it's kind of a special thing to me that when my dad first got energized on the abortion issue,
right,
I was there. I was 6 years old, and it was September 30th, 1972. Now, viewers and listeners who remember that far back will realize that's before Roe v. Wade was handed down.
Yeah.
My dad was planning to watch a Notre Dame football game that Saturday. My mom said, Joe, I promised we would go to the Right to Life rally. So, okay, we'll go. So he took me and I had at that time 2 brothers. I was 6 years old. He took Joe and Pete and me down to the Civic Center, now Daley Plaza in downtown Chicago, for a pro-life rally. One of the speakers was Henry Hyde. He at the time was a state representative before he went on to Congress. The fame of the Hyde Amendment and stopping taxpayer funding for abortion, saving something like 2 or 3 million babies from abortion. Right. When he was there. And when my parents arrived, somebody handed them a flyer. It was the old life and death flyer that Dr. Jack Wilkie put out.
Yeah.
And there was a picture in that. Many people may remember that. There was a picture of a dumpster from Canada where abortion had already been legalized all the way through pregnancy. And this dumpster was filled with corpses of babies aborted very late in pregnancy. One of the faces in that dumpster of aborted baby corpses reminded my dad of my baby picture. And at that moment, abortion became personal. Like all good Catholics, he knew abortion was horrible. It was so reprehensible, though, you never talked about it, never thought about it.
Right.
There was, before abortion was legal, people don't realize this, there was a silence about it. Silent no more is such an important concept because it wasn't just the women who had abortions who were silent. It was the entire society. We never talked about abortion, and that's part of why they were able to start to change the laws, put the justices in place, and eventually get legalized abortion because people weren't paying attention to it.
Yeah.
My dad was one of those people. But at that moment, his heart was touched, his brain turned on, and he started to become almost obsessed with abortion.
Wow.
Studying it. So he was already researching the issue, had been already fired up, didn't know that there was a case before the Supreme Court. And it had been there for a while,
Oh, yeah.
People don't remember this.
It was argued twice.
Twice, 2 sets of oral arguments. I don't know if that's ever happened. And so they had it for a year and a half before Roe v. Wade finally came down.
Right.
And when that ruling, my dad was home sick with the flu when that ruling came down. And so he just lay in bed feeling already physically horrible, and his heart just died as he read the newspaper reports, and then finally read the ruling. He called Roe v. Wade a kind of suicide note that the United States had written. to itself,
Wow.
destroying our progeny. Think about the preamble to the United States Constitution.
Mhm.
For ourselves and our posterity,
And now this
right?
was
And then
gonna
we're
destroy
destroying
it.
our posterity.
Yeah,
So I'm glad I was there at the moment my dad became a pro-life activist.
that's right.
And, so it's fitting that I'm
Well, and
carrying
of
on his
course,
legacy.
your dad, endearing nickname many pro-life leaders gave him was the Godfather.
The Godfather.
Of
Well, he
pro-life
cultivated
movement.
that image. He had his bullhorn and his fedora.
Right.
There's a famous picture of him with a violin case, like the gangsters would put
Yeah.
their Tommy guns in a violin case. So,
Yeah.
so he played with that.
And I'm going to hold up this book
Oh,
here
yeah.
because this is a great
There it
picture
is.
of your dad. This is super. And this great book, Racketeer for Life, Fighting the Culture of Death from the Sidewalk to the Supreme Court. I mean, well, first of all, your dad believed in direct action, direct activism.
That's right.
That we had to first, like the picture that empowered him is what he believed we had to do to wake up people to say, this is what's happening inside that building, that Planned Parenthood. They're killing babies.
I've talked to countless pro-life leaders about how they got involved in the issue.
Right.
And there's lots of different pathways.
Right.
But almost always, somewhere in that story, often at the very beginning of it, is seeing a picture of abortion.
That's right.
When you look at that image and you see the tangled mass of intestines, or you see the face that's been ripped to pieces, the hands and feet that are floating separately, all these horrific images. When you see that yourself and you think that was a human being.
That's
that
right.
was somebody in the most vulnerable stage of life, in a place, the womb, that's designed for them to be safe.
Right.
The place designed.
They should be nurtured. Right.
Like the womb becomes a tomb.
Yeah.
In abortion. How horrific is that?
Yeah. So your dad went on to develop quite a few strategies. Of course, like I pointed out, this book, which is no longer in print, 99 Ways. But Racketeer for Life, they can still get that book, right? How can they get it?
Oh, if you visit prolifeaction.org, you can click on our little pro-life activism store. If you buy a copy of Racketeer for Life, I can't send you a signed copy because the author has gone to his eternal reward, but I can write a little inscription for you. And I've been writing a lot of little inscriptions to folks who've been ordering the book, as we recently marked the 1-year anniversary of my father's passing, in January 2021. And people really wanted to experience more of his life. It really inspired so many.
Well, I think one of the activities I know he developed was the Face the Truth tours. I know we had your dad come out to New York when our office was up there. We did a 10-day tour, all 5 boroughs in New York. Tell everyone what a Face the Truth tour looks like.
Well, the Face the Truth tour it's a bold initiative. It's controversial. There are many even adamantly pro-life people who don't like the idea. I want to acknowledge that up front. Because I'm always happy to talk about why we do this. We go out into the public square and we show the reality of abortion. We show the pictures of abortion. Pro-Life actually does this. Many other groups do this. Created Equal out of Ohio travel to college campuses and show the pictures. There's a genocide awareness project from Greg Cunningham and his group, Citizens for a Pro-Life Society, Monica Miller's group. So there's other groups that do this. The idea is to go out into the public square and really require our society to confront the injustice that we're allowing through our indifference to the plight of the unborn child. These pictures are not designed to make pro-lifers popular. We don't show the pictures because we want to win any popularity contests. Now, we're not trying to make people upset. That's not the point. Not upset with us anyway, but we are trying to touch their hearts. We're trying to create a relationship between the viewer and the unborn child. So at the Pro-Life Action League, we've developed signs that kind of dial down the gore, but turn up the compassion.
Right.
One of our pictures is a close-up of the face of a baby aborted at 15 weeks. We've been using these signs a lot lately because the Dobbs v. Jackson case deals with a 15-week abortion.
That's right. Yeah.
So these are the babies we're talking about. It's 15-week baby boy. We focused on his face. And the caption says, his only baby picture.
Wow.
We all love baby pictures. Everybody loves them. Sometimes people say, well, why don't you just show baby pictures? Positive image. Abortionists have baby pictures on their refrigerators, guys.
Yeah.
Abortionists have ultrasound pictures on their refrigerators.
Yeah.
All right. The happy pictures are not going to change people's hearts and minds.
No, but the picture of this is when you say choice, this is what
you're choosing.
This is what you're choosing
to mangle the body of an actual human being. We have another picture that's just a little baby foot, little tiny purple foot. purple only because that's what it looks like at that stage of life. And the caption reads, "She'll never learn to walk."
Wow.
You know how it is. Baby takes their first step, baby
Oh,
says
yeah.
the first word, and everybody, all the grandparents know. Now we go onto Facebook and we even share a video of the first steps, right?
That's right.
It's something we all care about. Well,
Abortion, this baby's never going to take that
they're
first
never
step.
gonna take a first step. We have
Yeah.
another picture. It's two little tiny hands they're so small they fit on the finger of a surgical glove. And the caption reads, 10 perfect fingers.
Wow.
You know, every one of us is a parent. I'm a parent. I've got 8 kids. When they're born and you look at those tiny fingers and you count them just because it's so exciting. It's not so much that you care if there's 11. I mean, what the heck? But what do you know? What's the difference, really?
Right.
One of my daughters has a cat with extra claws, so it doesn't really matter. But you know, you look at those fingers and they're so tiny. The fingernails are so improbably small.
Right.
You know, so we're trying to connect to these like visceral, common experiences of these landmarks of child development and connect those to the child threatened by abortion.
Right.
Who won't get to experience any of those.
Well, you know, Eric, I've had the experience over different parts of the country, been out there with the pictures over the decades that I've been involved. And I have seen not just hearts and minds changed, but I have actually seen when I've been out in front of abortion clinics with the signs. One time, Father Frank and I were out there. We were in Charlotte, North Carolina. And what we did is we went about 25 feet before you got to the clinic. And we were standing there with your dad's signs, the Face the Truth signs. And, you know, a couple just stopped, boom, the car right in front of us. And they rolled down their window and they said, "What's that?" And we said, "Well, this is a baby that was aborted. And that's what they're doing in that abortion clinic." And then the boyfriend says to his girlfriend, "That's what you were going to do to our baby?"
It's kind of unfair of him to blame her, but yeah.
Yeah. And she goes, "Well, you told me we had to, you know, have an abortion." And so I said, "Would you like some help?" He goes, "Well, what kind of help you giving me?" I said, "I can take you someplace." Yeah. I said, "What do you need?" I said, "I can take you to a place where you can get a free pregnancy test, free. They're going to charge you in there." I said, "And then whatever you need. You need a place to stay? We can do that. You need a doctor to help you through during the pregnancy? We have that." I said, "You need a job opportunity? We can get you that. You know, you're gonna have to leave school? No, we'll get you back in school. What do you need? You're going to get me to a free doctor?" I said, "Yes, I'll get you to a free doctor." So it was so funny because Father Frank told them to follow him. And then he says, "Janet, you better get in the car with them." I got in a car with total strangers and followed them. We took him to Dr. Matt Harrison because we knew him in Charlotte. And the couple chose life. But if it wasn't for that picture, Eric, they would have went right past us. If we were just standing there praying, right? They would have went right past us, you know, and they would have went into the abortion clinic and killed their baby.
I remember one day we were in downtown Chicago at that same Daily Plaza with the Civic Center where my dad first saw that abortion picture. And a couple was walking down Clark Street. They came around the corner, and here we had the entire block circled with our abortion pictures and our field development pictures. They had been walking down the block talking about the pregnancy test they took that morning. Wow. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? And they were literally praying that God would give them a sign. Wow. They came around the corner. Talk about a sign. There were literally 50 signs up in the plaza showing what abortion would do to their unborn baby.
Wow.
They came running up to us and said, "We can't believe what we're seeing here. What's going on?" We got them plugged into a pregnancy resource center. They chose life for their baby. Yeah. And that's just one of countless stories like that I could tell.
That's right.
The effect that these pictures will have on
That's
people.
right. And we like to call them victims of abortion photography. I mean, that's the proper name for them.
I hate it when people say graphic signs. I mean, graphic just means there's images and everything's graphic.
Everything's graphic. No.
And the graphicness isn't the point.
Right. No.
You know,
it's that this is a child who was killed. And the way of the murder was abortion.
You know? When you say, do you believe in showing graphic signs? It kind of primes you to say, no, graphic signs. But if you say, do you believe in showing the victims of abortion? Yeah. What pro-life person really is going to say, no, never show that.
Yeah, right. No, I mean, well, you know, here at Priests for Life, we are 100% in favor of showing graphic images.
Which isn't to say that we shouldn't be judicious. Like you noted, in Charlotte, you were about 25 feet away. you don't want to have an abortion victim photo right next to your sidewalk counselor that you're
Right.
asking someone to come up and talk to.
Right.
Because it's a disturbing image. That's not what it's for.
Well, that's
It's
why
for
we
something else.
put ourselves a little
Right.
bit further
You
down,
have to be judicious.
because we said, well, this is the one-way street to get to the abortion clinic. So if we're here, they're going to see this before they get to the parking lot and maybe have a chance with the sidewalk
Right.
counselor. And that's exactly what happened, So,
It's
you
a
know,
time and a place,
Yeah.
but we feel like there is a time and a place. And
Exactly.
We're gonna get out there at those times. And in those
exactly.
places.
And of course, Father Pavone always says, America will not reject abortion until America sees abortion.
Right.
And the pages on our website that get the most, we have pages that say, look at abortion.com. Go there and you see the pictures. Do you know that every month when we do our web statistic, it's the most visited pages on our of all our web pages. It beats out the liturgical resources for the clergy. It's the pictures of
Pictures
what.
with 10,000 words.
That's right. That's right. So no, at the League, tell us what are the latest projects that you're working on?
Well, we're really excited about the potential that's opening up for us as a movement here, as the Supreme Court seems poised to, at a minimum, scale back Roe versus Wade to the point where it's effectively a dead letter. And we're praying they're going to outright overturn it and explain why it's such a horrible
Decision.
suicide note, as my dad
Right.
constituted.
Yeah.
It really needs to be overturned.
Well, it should certainly, we're hoping, throw it back to the states, which
Right.
was what it was before Roe.
But that could be really troubling. I'm concerned. I'm concerned that Americans, pro-life Americans, especially those in pro-life states, are going to become complacent. That if Roe v. Wade is overturned, people are going to see that headline and go, problem solved. We've been fighting to overturn Roe v. Wade for so long.
Right.
And so one of the things we have out is a flyer called Roe v. Wade, What's at Stake? And I wish I had a copy here to show you, but unfortunately I don't. It's a great flyer, though, because it's sort of a neutral image. Like, what's going on? Some people say this, some people say that. And it explains, among other things, that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, then each state would be able to set abortion policy.
Right.
So a state like where I live, Illinois, has become increasingly pro-abortion, more and more radical. Now they're pushing back against the pregnancy centers and trying to stop them.
Right.
That's how extreme they've become. Other states like Texas, Oklahoma, Alabama, Mississippi, the state that's at the center of the Dobbs v. Jackson.
Well, they're
case,
protecting life.
They're going to defend life. They're
Right.
Some of these states are going to pass total abortion bans.
Right.
Well, then states like Illinois, California, New York, they're going to be inviting people to come in. So at the Pro-Life Action League, we're really seeing this as a danger that people become complacent, and we want to respond to that by really encouraging people to stay active, to get active, to join the movement for the first time. I think that if Roe v. Wade is overturned, that's not the end of the pro-life movement. It's really the beginning of the true pro-life.
Well, it's another chapter in
new-
really, I mean, until every child is protected, our work continues. And then, of course, our work also continues in the healing, the aftermath. I mean, with Rachel's Vineyard and Silent No More, we're dealing with the people who have been hurt by abortion, and that's going to continue.
We're working to prepare for that day. And one thing we're developing right now, I'll give a little sneak peek about this. We're putting together a pro-life activism starter kit. All right. So you're going to get your Stop Abortion Now signs. And people don't know this. My dad was so humble. He designed that. You've seen him a million times.
Right.
There's a Stop Abortion Now sign at the Smithsonian Institution.
Really?
I was there one time looking around the public protest section of the History Museum. And I'm like, where's the pro-life stuff? And then I turn, boom, there's this gigantic Stop Abortion Now sign. My dad invented that. He designed that, and then Jack Wilkie saw it and said, "Joe, can we make copies for the March for Life?" And so they did that.
And then National Rights to Life, basically.
They picked up on the Stop Abortion Now sign. So we're going to give people a packet of our most recent printing of the Stop Abortion Now sign, our Moms for Life and Dads for Life signs that are super popular, a packet of our various literature, a kind of a how-to manual with access codes to different sections of our website. So really a turnkey box that will allow a person to become plugged in with the pro-life movement and start to get active in their own
That's
community.
great. Well, I know also too, this little booklet here, sharing the pro-life message.
Right.
Now you had a copy of this, I think, almost a decade ago, but this is a refreshed copy, right?
That's right. This is the sixth edition.
Walk us through this. Tell us about this.
This little handbook was born from an experience I had with my staff in Rapid City, South Dakota. We were there to do a Face the Truth tour. We were there visiting a guy named Al Carlson, who's a great pro-life activist in South Dakota. And we were showing our signs, and a group of young people came, like high school and college students, came and made up their own signs, and they were kind of counter-protesting us. And some of their signs were kind of silly. They're kind of a rabble. And I sent my assistant, Matt, who's a little bit younger guy, over to talk to them, just to kind of see what kind of things they're saying and engage with them. And he had a great conversation, but one of the questions along the way was, if you're so anti-abortion, why aren't you adopting a baby? How many babies have you adopted? And we've all heard that question before.
Right.
Well, here it is on page 53 is our answer. So we realized Matt knew when he was talking to these guys, well, I know there's way more parents who want to adopt babies
Right.
than there are even babies born every year.
That's right.
We could find a home for every one of these babies if they
Exactly.
were going to be born. He knew that, but he didn't have any numbers. So we started to put together a bunch of little answers for things like that, a cheat sheet. We called it our pro-life cheat sheet.
That's great.
And it eventually turned into this handbook. So it was for us. We wanted our own staff to have ready answers, something to pull out of their pocket and be able to answer. And so we designed it very small. I wanted it to be small enough.
Well, it could fit in your pocket.
In your pocket, your book bag. It fits in your pocket. And we also wanted all the answers to be accessible. So there are hundreds of questions in here. Here it is on page 53. How many children have you adopted? There are too many unwanted children now. Well, each year, approximately 140,000 children are adopted, but approximately 2 million couples are seeking to adopt.
Wow.
So we can find parents for these babies.
That's right.
And so everything's in here. There's a section in here on life in the womb. So when does the heart begin to beat? When do the fingernails form? Abortion facts. What kind of women are getting abortions? What races do they belong to? What reasons do they have? The biggest section is called pro-choice arguments, answering those common objections.
Yeah, when they say, we say.
Rape and incest,
Right. Life for the
why
mother.
do you want to control women's bodies?
Right.
Why are you imposing your religion on people? We have answers to all of those questions, and the answers are always right there in front of you. You never have to turn the page. Every answer is on the same page as the question.
That's great.
Little feature. Questions of law. There's a section on Planned Parenthood, nation's largest abortion provider. One of the strange things of putting this handbook out over the years, because it first came out in 2008 with the first edition, is every time we put out a new edition, Planned Parenthood's share of national abortions is bigger and bigger and bigger. Started out when we first started, it's about 24%, something like that. It's now up to 41%. No other industry leader has such a large market share. Samsung, the nation's largest television manufacturer, does not have anywhere near that. Southwest Airlines, who flies the most domestic flights, nowhere close. General Motors, nowhere close to 40% market share. Planned Parenthood has cornered the market on abortion.
Wow.
As their abortion rate has gone up, their rates of everything else that they claim to do, the STD testing, all that has gone down.
Way down. Yeah.
They don't provide, well, anyway, it's all in here. We cover, I could go on about Planned Parenthood. We cover the key things about Planned Parenthood, the horrific scandal surrounding their harvesting of fetal tissue that came out just a few years ago. And then finally, there's a section on getting help, because it's not just about having the right arguments, having the right attitude, having the information you need. We also need to provide people with the tools that they need to choose life, to overcome the aftermath of abortion, to help their friend, to deal with a bad prenatal diagnosis. If you've got a baby that's going to be disabled, all these other kinds of things. So we provide those resources as well.
That's great. So remind them again how they can get a copy.
This handbook, if you go to prolifeaction.org, you can get a copy of this. It's just $5 shipped to you. We have great bulk discounts. Especially right now, at this moment, when abortion is so much
in the news.
I've never seen anything.
I mean, to us right now, to me, this is a teachable moment, because normally we're scrapping and fighting to get something in the news. Yeah. But now, because of this Supreme Court case and because of Heartbeat in Texas, we're in the news.
We're in the news all the time, which means your friends and neighbors are talking about abortion. Your coworkers are talking about abortion.
Right.
You have the opportunity like you've never had before.
Well, like here in Florida today, Eric, abortion was in the news. Why? The state house voted to have because right now in Florida, you can get an abortion up to 24 weeks. Well, now they just passed a law just in the House. Is going to go over to the Senate. Senator already said he'll sign it, but it passed the House today for a 15-week ban. So they're mimicking the Mississippi law. That's what they're doing.
Yeah, we're going to have an opportunity to talk to our friends and neighbors over the next several years. We've never had.
Never had before. Yeah.
And this handbook empowers you to do that.
It does.
So get a copy of this. Get a copy for your youth group. Get a stack for the back of church. We want this to be in as many hands as possible.
Well, I even think a confirmation class should get it
Oh,
too, because
absolutely.
why should you be confirmed in the Catholic faith if you don't know the arguments about
right.
why abortion is wrong?
We're sending a copy of this handbook to every single legislator in the country.
Wow.
There's over 7,000. Did you know that? There's over 7,200 legislators in the 50 states. And we're sending each and every one of them a copy of this handbook. Every one of the 50 governors, including my rotten governor, J.B. Pritzker, he's going to get this handbook anyways.
Well, that's good.
And to the entire Congress, to pro-life leaders and Newman centers. We're sending these out all over the country.
That's great.
To empower people to
And then
be a voice.
Finally, there's a project we do every September with Priests for Life and Citizens for a Pro-Life Society and the Pro-Life Action League. Quickly tell them about that.
The National Day of Remembrance for Aborted Children was started in 2013
Right.
with Father Frank and Monica Miller from Citizens for a Pro-Life Society and Pro-Life Action League got together to memorialize the historic burial of some corpses of aborted babies up in Milwaukee 25 years before. That important date was coming along about that burial. We decided to memorialize that in this way by visiting the burial places of aborted babies. And people might be hearing that thinking, what? Burial places of aborted babies?
And there's quite a few throughout the
There
country,
are more
right?
than 50. When we started the project, we put our heads together and we came up with a list of about 24 places we knew that babies had been buried. Some of these babies were recovered from dumpsters behind abortion clinics.
Right.
Some were recovered from pathology labs.
So now every September, what website did they go to find out about this?
You can go to nationaldayofremembrance.org or
Right.
abortionmemorials.com is another
Right.
website we have to find out about this event. We go to the burial places. We go to hundreds of memorial locations around the country.
Mhm.
Babies aren't buried at, but where we remember them. And we visit all of those places to mourn for these children.
That's right.
And as Father Frank has so aptly pointed out, of all the pro-life things that we do, the March for Life, the sidewalk counseling, the prayer vigils, the post-abortion healing, all of this stuff, that may one day all be in the past. When there are no more abortions, we don't need to fight for the laws anymore. We don't need to do sidewalk counseling.
But
when
we
there's
do
no abortion
need to
facilities.
remember the
We
children.
can never forget this.
That's
moment.
right. Yeah.
We can never forget this one. You know, I'm a big fan of the Premier League. I follow Arsenal, the Gunners from London, right? Every year they have, I think it's in the month of February. Correct me if I'm wrong. Maybe it's November. November. They remember World War I. They put on these little poppy
Right.
buttons, right?
So this is how we have to remember the children
Right. They haven't forgotten the dead of World War I. We will never forget the dead of abortion. We need to
Well,
remember.
Eric, thank you for joining me on the program. Very exciting, lots of action. And brothers and sisters, thank you too for joining me on Just Ask Janet. And remember, there are some abortions only you can stop and some lives only you can save. Join me again next time. Thank you. God bless.
I will be silent. No.